The Big Bang did not bang. There was no sound, no explosion, no moment when everything suddenly erupted into existence from nothing. You've been told a story, a beautiful, compelling story, but it's only the beginning of a truth so vast and unsettling that it threatens to shatter everything you think you know about reality itself. Right now, as you sit here, as you breathe, as your heart beats in the rhythm of existence, you are surrounded by something impossible, something that shouldn't exist, yet does something that makes the very air around you tremble with possibilities you've never imagined. The universe you see, every star, every galaxy, every distant point of light that has ever inspired wonder, represents less than 5% of everything that actually exists. The other 95% is hidden from you, invisible, untouchable, yet more real than the ground beneath your feet. But that's not the part that should terrify you. The part that should make your mind recoil in existential vertigo is this. What if even that invisible majority is just another fragment, another tiny piece of something so monumentally vast that calling it infinite would be an insult to its true scope? What if the universe you inhabit, this seemingly endless expanse of space and time, is nothing more than a single bubble floating in an ocean of realities that stretches beyond the very concept of beyond? You might wonder why no one has told you this before. The answer is simple. They didn't want to break your mind. Because once you truly understand what lies beyond the edge of everything you can see, once you grasp the implications of what modern physics has discovered lurking in the shadows of mathematics and observation, you'll never look at the night sky the same way again. You'll never again be able to pretend that this reality, this universe, this existence you cling to so desperately, is anything more than a whisper in a cosmic symphony, too vast for human comprehension. The story begins with a lie, or rather, a necessary simplification. When Edwin Hubble first noticed that distant galaxies were racing away from us, when he discovered that the universe was expanding, scientists crafted a narrative that made sense to minds shaped by cause and effect, by beginnings and endings. They called it the Big Bang, and they told you it was the moment when everything began. Time, space, matter, energy, all of it erupting from a single point of infinite density and infinite temperature, a cosmic genesis you could picture, even if you couldn't understand it. But here's what they didn't tell you. The mathematics that describe this moment, the equations that govern the behavior of space and time, they don't stop at that first instant. They don't end with the Big Bang. They continue backward deeper, into realms where the very concept of before becomes meaningless, and what they reveal there in those shadowy mathematical depths is not the beginning of everything, but the continuation of something that was already impossibly ancient when our universe first drew breath. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of an ocean at night, waves lapping at your feet. The water stretches to the horizon, dark and endless. Now imagine someone tells you this ocean has no opposite shore, no bottom, no edges. It simply is, and it always has been. But then they tell you something else, something that makes your perception of this infinite ocean seem quaint and limited. They tell you that what you're seeing isn't one ocean, but one drop of water in an ocean of oceans, a single wave in a sea of seas, each one as vast and timeless as the one you're standing beside. This is what the mathematics suggest about reality. Your universe, with its 14 billion years of history, its trillion galaxies, its countless stars and worlds, is not the ocean. It's not even the drop. It's a single hydrogen atom in that drop, floating in a reality so vast that if you could somehow step outside it and look back, you wouldn't see a universe at all. You'd see something that resembles a soap bubble, translucent and fragile, one of countless billions floating in a space that has no name because it transcends every human conception of space itself. The first hint that something was wrong with our cosmic story came not from telescopes pointed at distant galaxies, but from equations scrawled on blackboards in universities around the world. When physicists tried to trace the expansion of the universe backward to its beginning, they discovered the mathematics didn't cooperate. The equations didn't converge on a single point of origin. Instead, they suggested something far more unsettling, that the Big Bang might not have been the beginning at all, but merely a phase transition, a moment when one kind of space-time transformed into another. It's as if you've been told your entire life that the moment you were born was the moment existence began, only to discover that you emerged from a womb that existed long before you, carried by a mother who lived in a world that stretched back through generations you've never imagined. The Big Bang, in this new understanding, becomes not the first moment of time, but the moment when time as we understand it began to tick according to rules that make sense to creatures like us. But if the Big Bang wasn't the beginning, what was? What lies beyond that moment, in the vast space-time that existed before your universe, learned to expand and cool and form the matter that would eventually become you? This is where the story becomes not just strange, but actively hostile to human intuition. Because the answer suggested by cutting-edge physics isn't just that there was something before the Big Bang, it's that there was everything before the Big Bang. Imagine trying to count to infinity. You start with 1, then 2, then 3, and you realize that no matter how long you count, no matter how many numbers you recite, you'll never reach the end. Now imagine that someone tells you that even if you could count to infinity, your infinity is just one number in a sequence of infinities, each one dwarfing the last. This is the conceptual vertigo that modern cosmology induces when it suggests that your universe might be just one of infinitely many, each one emerging from the same underlying reality that spawned yours. The mechanism that might generate such a cosmic multiplication is called eternal inflation, and it represents one of the most profound challenges to human sanity ever conceived by physics. The idea is deceptively simple. The same force that drove the rapid expansion of your universe in its first moments, a force called inflation, never actually stopped. It continues even now, in regions of space-time that exist beyond the boundary of your observable universe, and every so often in this eternally inflating space, a bubble forms, a region where the inflation stops and a new universe begins to expand, and cool, and evolve. Your universe is one such bubble, but it's not alone. According to the mathematics of eternal inflation, it's accompanied by an infinity of other bubbles, each one containing its own space-time, its own physics, its own story of cosmic evolution. Some of these universes might be similar to yours, with familiar laws of physics and familiar types of matter. Others might be so alien they don't even contain the concept of matter as you understand it. And still others might exist in dimensions of space-time that your mind literally cannot conceptualize. The implications of this possibility are staggering. If eternal inflation is correct, then everything you've ever experienced, every human life that has ever been lived, every star that has ever burned, every galaxy that has ever formed, all of it represents an infinitesimally small sample of what actually exists. Your entire observable universe, with its 100 billion galaxies and its 46 billion light-year radius, becomes not just a tiny corner of a larger reality, but a single moment in an eternal process of universe creation that has no beginning and no end. But even this mind-bending scenario might be too conservative, because recent developments in theoretical physics suggest that eternal inflation itself might be just one layer in a hierarchy of realities that extends far beyond anything that eternal inflation can generate. String theory, the attempt to unify all the fundamental forces of nature into a single mathematical framework, suggests that the basic structure of reality might be far more flexible than anyone imagined. Instead of one set of physical laws, string theory allows for an astronomical number of different possible universes, each with its own unique configuration of forces, particles, and constants. This is called the landscape of string theory, and it represents a kind of cosmic democracy so radical that it makes eternal inflation seem quaint by comparison. In the landscape, every possible universe that can exist according to the laws of physics does exist. Every possible value for the strength of gravity, every possible mass for the electron, every possible configuration of the forces that govern matter. They all have their own universe, their own space-time, their own story of evolution and development. The number of such universes is so large that it defeats human comprehension. We're not talking about billions or trillions or even the number of atoms in your observable universe. We're talking about a number so vast that if you wrote it down, VATTV, digits would fill more space than all the matter in your universe combined. And each of these universes is as real, as substantial, as full of potential for complexity and beauty and consciousness as yours. Yet even this cosmic democracy might be nothing more than a single level in a hierarchy that extends infinitely upward. Because the mathematics that describe the landscape of string theory can themselves be embedded in larger mathematical structures, and those structures can be embedded in still larger ones, ad infinitum. What emerges from this recursive process is not just a multiverse, but a multiverse of multiverses, a reality so vast and complex that it transcends every human category of thought and description. This is the point at which the story becomes not just intellectually challenging, but emotionally overwhelming. Because if these mathematical explorations are pointing toward truth, then you must confront the possibility that your existence, your consciousness, your entire experience of being alive is both infinitely precious and infinitely insignificant. Simultaneously, you are unique in the sense that your exact configuration of matter and energy and experience has never existed before, and will never exist again. But you are also common in the sense that somewhere in the vast reaches of the mathematical multiverse, there are infinitely many versions of you, each one living a life that is almost identical to yours, but different in ways both subtle and profound. The vertigo induced by this realization is more than just intellectual. It's existential. It forces you to ask questions that have no comfortable answers. If there are infinitely many versions of you, which one is the real you? If there are infinitely many universes, why do you find yourself in this one? If everything that can happen does happen somewhere in the multiverse, what is the meaning of choice, of consequence, of the moral decisions that seem to define your existence? These questions don't have easy answers. They might not have answers at all, but they emerge naturally from the mathematics of modern physics, from the attempts to understand the deepest structure of reality. They represent the price of knowledge, the cost of pushing beyond the comfortable boundaries of human experience, into realms where the very concept of experience becomes problematic. The story of these other universes, these parallel realities that exist beyond the reach of any telescope or detector, is still being written. Every day, physicists around the world are uncovering new mathematical structures, new possibilities, new ways that reality might be far stranger and more wonderful than anything the human mind has yet imagined. Some of these possibilities will eventually be ruled out by experiment and observation. Others will be refined and developed into new theories that capture even more of the infinite complexity of existence. But some possibilities will remain forever beyond the reach of direct confirmation. They will exist in the realm of mathematical inference, of logical deduction, of theoretical exploration. They will be real in the sense that they are necessary consequences of the laws of physics, but unreal in the sense that they can never be observed or visited or directly experienced by creatures like you. This is perhaps the most profound challenge that modern physics poses to human understanding. The possibility that the deepest truths about reality are not just difficult to grasp, but impossible to verify. You might be surrounded by an infinity of other universes, other realities, other versions of yourself living lives that are both familiar and alien. But you will never know for certain. You will never be able to step outside your own universe and see the multiverse from the outside. You will never be able to confirm whether the mathematics that suggest these other realities are pointing toward truth or toward beautiful mathematical fictions. And so you are left with a choice that is both simple and impossible. Do you accept the implications of the mathematics, even when they lead to conclusions that strain the very limits of human comprehension? Do you embrace the possibility that your reality is far stranger and more wonderful than anything your evolutionary history has prepared you to understand? Or do you retreat into the comfortable boundaries of the directly observable, the testable, the familiar? The choice you make will not change the mathematics. It will not alter the structure of reality or the nature of existence, but it will change you. It will determine whether you see yourself as an isolated consciousness in a single universe, or as one note in an infinite symphony of existence that extends far beyond the boundaries of space and time as you understand them. The Big Bang did not bang. It whispered into existence, one voice among infinitely many, in a cosmic choir that has been singing since before time had meaning. And now, having heard the first few notes of that song, you must decide whether you have the courage to listen to the rest. The universe you think you know is a carefully constructed lie, not born from deception, but from the limitations of human perception and the desperate need to make sense of something that defies sense itself. For over a century, scientists have built an elegant narrative around the cosmos, a story so compelling and internally consistent that it has become the foundation of modern cosmology. But like all the best lies, it contains just enough truth to be believable, just enough gaps to hide the profound mysteries that lurk beneath its surface. The story begins 14 billion years ago, in a moment that wasn't quite a moment, in a place that wasn't quite a place. The universe, we're told, began as a singularity, a point of infinite density and infinite temperature, where all the laws of physics break down into mathematical gibberish. From this impossible beginning, space and time themselves erupted into existence, carrying with them the seeds of everything you see around you. The stars, the galaxies, the planets, and eventually the complex chemistry that would give rise to consciousness itself. This is the narrative you've been given, and it's beautiful in its simplicity. It satisfies the human need for beginnings, for origins, for a moment when everything started. But beauty and truth are not the same thing. And the more closely scientists examine this cosmic origin story, the more it begins to resemble a fairy tale told to children who aren't yet ready to confront the true nature of reality. The first crack in this perfect narrative appeared when physicists began to examine what they euphemistically call the horizon problem. Imagine you're standing in a vast cathedral, and someone tells you that the temperature is exactly the same in every corner of the building, down to the smallest fraction of a degree. You'd immediately ask, how is that possible? How did the air, in the far corners, which have never been in contact with each other, manage to reach the same temperature? The answer, obviously, is that they must have been in contact at some point. They must have had time to exchange heat and reach thermal equilibrium. Now scale this problem up to the entire observable universe. When astronomers look at the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang that fills all of space, they see something that should be impossible. The temperature of this radiation is the same in every direction, to within a few parts in 100,000. But according to the standard Big Bang model, the regions of space that produce this radiation have never been in contact with each other. They have never had time to exchange heat, never had the opportunity to reach thermal equilibrium. Yet, somehow, impossibly, they all ended up at exactly the same temperature. This is not a minor technical problem. This is a fundamental challenge to the entire structure of Big Bang cosmology. It suggests that something is profoundly wrong with our understanding of how the universe began, or that something happened in those first moments that we haven't yet accounted for. The solution that cosmologists have proposed, a period of exponential expansion called inflation, is so radical that it transforms the entire meaning of the Big Bang itself. Inflation theory suggests that in the first tiny fraction of a second after the universe began, we're talking about a time interval so brief that light couldn't travel the width of a proton, the universe underwent a period of expansion so rapid that it defies human comprehension. During this inflationary epoch, space itself expanded faster than the speed of light, stretching what had been a tiny, causally connected region into something large enough to encompass the entire observable universe. The metaphor that physicists use to describe this process is that of a balloon being inflated. Imagine drawing two dots on a deflated balloon, close enough that they're touching. Now imagine inflating that balloon so rapidly that it grows to the size of the Earth in less than a second. The dots that were once touching are now separated by thousands of miles, but they retain the memory of their original connection. This is supposedly what happened to the universe during inflation. Regions that were once in thermal equilibrium were stretched so far apart that they now appear to be causally disconnected, even though they share a common origin. But here's where the story becomes not just strange, but actively unsettling. Because the mathematics of inflation don't just solve the horizon problem, they create a new problem, one that is far more profound and far more disturbing. If inflation can happen once, if the laws of physics allow for this kind of exponential expansion, then there's no reason to believe it happened just once. The same quantum processes that drove inflation in our region of space should be driving inflation in other regions as well, creating a network of expanding bubbles that extends throughout space and time. This is the concept of eternal inflation, and it represents one of the most radical departures from common sense ever proposed by physics. According to eternal inflation, The Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything. It was just the beginning of our local region of space-time, beyond the boundaries of our observable universe. Inflation continues, spawning new universes, new regions of space-time, new Big Bangs. In an endless process that has no beginning and no end. The implications of this possibility are staggering if eternal inflation is correct. Then what you call the universe, this vast expanse of space containing hundreds of billions of galaxies, is actually just one bubble in an infinite foam of bubbles, each one containing its own space-time, its own physics, its own story of cosmic evolution. The Big Bang becomes not the origin of everything, but merely the local origin of your particular corner of a much larger reality. But even this expanded vision of cosmology might be too conservative. Because the mathematics that describe eternal inflation can be embedded in even larger mathematical structures, structures that allow for possibilities that make eternal inflation seem quaint by comparison. String theory, the attempt to unify all the fundamental forces of nature into a single mathematical framework, suggests that the basic parameters of physics, the masses of particles, the strengths of forces, the fundamental constants that govern the behavior of matter and energy are not fixed and immutable, but are instead determined by the specific configuration of space-time in which you find yourself. This leads to what physicists call the landscape of string theory, a vast space of possible universes, each one characterized by its own unique set of physical laws. In some of these universes, the electromagnetic force might be stronger, leading to atoms that are more tightly bound and chemistry that follows different rules. In others, gravity might be weaker, allowing for planetary systems that are radically different from anything in our solar system. And in still others, the fundamental constants might be so different that matter as we understand it cannot exist at all. The number of possible universes in the string theory landscape is so large that it defeats human comprehension. We're not talking about thousands, not millions, not even billions. We're talking about a number larger than the number of atoms in the observable universe, larger than the number of seconds since the Big Bang, larger than any quantity ever measured or imagined by human science. Each of these universes is as real and as substantial as yours, but each one follows its own unique set of physical laws. This is where the careful construction of scientific knowledge begins to crumble under its own weight, because if the landscape of string theory is correct, then the question of why the universe has the specific properties it does, why gravity has the strength it does, why the electron has the mass it does, why the forces balance in just the right way to allow for the formation of complex chemistry, becomes not a question of necessity, but a question of probability. Your universe has the properties it does not, because those properties are special or required, but because you happen to find yourself in one of the universes where those properties allow for the existence of observers like you. This is the anthropic principle, and it represents a profound shift in how science approaches the question of cosmic origins. Instead of asking, why is the universe the way it is? The anthropic principle suggests we ask, why do we find ourselves in a universe that is capable of supporting our existence? The answer is tautological, but unsettling. We find ourselves in this universe because this is the kind of universe that can produce observers like us. All the other universes in the landscape, all the other possible configurations of physical laws, exist as well. But we're not there to observe them, because they don't support the complex chemistry that gives rise to consciousness. the early universe, in this new understanding, wasn't just hot. It was a furnace, where the very concept of temperature was still being defined by the interplay of forces that were themselves still learning how to behave. The first moments after the Big Bang weren't just a period of rapid expansion, they were a phase transition in which the fundamental structure of space-time itself was crystallizing out of a more primordial state, a state that has no name because it transcends every human conception of matter and energy. Picture this. You're standing in a vast foundry where reality itself is being forged. The air around you shimmers with temperatures that would vaporize matter before it could form, pressures that would crush space-time into geometries that have no names. In this foundry, the laws of physics are not fixed rules, but flexible guidelines, capable of bending and stretching and transforming in ways that determine not just what kinds of particles can exist, but what the very concept of existence means. This is the true nature of the early universe, not a simple story of expansion and cooling, but a complex process of symmetry, breaking, and phase transitions that determine the fundamental character of the reality you inhabit. The forces that govern the behavior of matter and energy in your universe, the electromagnetic force, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, and gravity were not always distinct entities. In the extreme conditions of the early universe, they were unified into a single, more fundamental force that has no analog in your current experience. As the universe expanded and cooled, this unified force underwent a series of phase transitions, breaking apart into the separate forces that now govern different aspects of physics. It's as if a single language were gradually evolving into multiple dialects, each one specialized for describing different aspects of reality. The electromagnetic force became responsible for the behavior of charged particles. The weak nuclear force, for certain types of radioactive decay. The strong nuclear force, for holding atomic nuclei together. And gravity, for the large-scale structure of space-time itself. But here's the crucial point: the way these forces separated from each other. The specific values they ended up with. The particular rules they follow, none of this was inevitable. It was determined by the specific conditions that existed during each phase transition, conditions that were themselves subject to quantum fluctuations and probabilistic processes that could have gone differently. A slight change in the temperature at which electromagnetism separated from the weak nuclear force. A small variation in the strength of the gravitational field during the epoch of nucleosynthesis. A minor fluctuation in the density of matter during the formation of the first atoms. Any of these could have led to a universe with radically different properties. The realization that the fundamental constants of physics are not fixed and immutable, but are instead the result of a complex series of phase transitions and symmetry breaks, has profound implications for how we understand the nature of reality itself. It suggests that the universe you inhabit is not the inevitable result of some deeper mathematical truth, but is instead one possible outcome of a process that could have unfolded in countless different ways. This is where the concept of the multiverse begins to emerge, not as a speculative hypothesis, but as a necessary consequence of our best understanding of fundamental physics. If the parameters of physics are determined by phase transitions that are subject to quantum fluctuations, and if those quantum fluctuations are truly random, then every possible outcome of those transitions must occur somewhere in the larger structure of reality. The universe you inhabit, with its specific set of physical laws, is just one member of an ensemble of universes that collectively exhaust all the possibilities allowed by the underlying quantum mechanics. The mathematical structure that describes this ensemble is called the wave function of the universe, and it represents perhaps the most profound challenge to human intuition ever conceived by physics. The wave function doesn't describe just one universe, but all possible universes simultaneously, in a quantum superposition that encompasses every possible configuration of matter and energy, every possible set of physical laws, every possible history of cosmic evolution. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, this wave function never collapses. Instead, it continues to evolve according to the Schrödinger equation, branching and dividing and multiplying in a way that creates new universes every time a quantum measurement occurs. The result is an ever-expanding tree of realities, each one as real and as substantial as yours, but each one following a slightly different path through the space of possible histories. The implications of this possibility are overwhelming. If the EDE many worlds interpretation is correct, then every time you make a decision, every time a quantum event occurs in your vicinity, the universe splits into multiple branches, each one corresponding to a different possible outcome. The version of you that chose to read this sentence exists in one branch, while other versions of you that chose to do something else exist in other branches. All of these versions are equally real, equally conscious, equally convinced that they inhabit the one true universe. But even this mind-bending scenario might be too conservative, because the mathematics that describe the wave function of the universe can themselves be embedded in larger mathematical structures. Structures that allow for possibilities that transcend even the many worlds interpretation. Max Tegmark, a cosmologist at MIT, has proposed that the ultimate reality might be mathematical in nature, that the physical universe is not just described by mathematics, but is mathematics, in the sense that it is identical to a particular mathematical structure. If Tegmark's hypothesis is correct, then every mathematical structure that is logically consistent corresponds to a physical universe that actually exists. This would mean that the multiverse is not just large, but infinite in a way that defies human comprehension. It would contain not just all possible quantum histories, not just all possible configurations of matter and energy, but all possible mathematical structures, all possible forms of logic, all possible ways of organizing information and causation. The universe you inhabit, in this view, is just one mathematical structure among infinitely many, no more special or significant than any other. The fact that you find yourself in this particular structure, with its particular laws of physics and its particular history of cosmic evolution, is not a reflection of any deeper meaning or purpose, but is simply a consequence of the fact that this is the type of structure that can support the existence of conscious observers like you. This is the final destination of the journey that began with the simple observation that the cosmic microwave background radiation has the same temperature in all directions. What started as a technical problem in Big Bang cosmology has led to a vision of reality that is so vast and so strange that it challenges the very foundations of human understanding. The universe you thought you knew, a single, unique, evolving cosmos with a clear beginning and a comprehensible structure, has been revealed to be just one note in an infinite symphony of existence. One page in a library of realities that contains every possible story that could ever be told. The horizon problem, in this new understanding, is not really a problem at all. It's a clue, a hint that the reality you inhabit is far stranger and more wonderful than anything your evolutionary history has prepared you to understand. The fact That distant regions of space share the same temperature is not a coincidence or a mystery. It's evidence that these regions were once connected in a way that transcends the familiar concepts of space and time. But if the universe has no edge, then where does it begin? The question itself reveals the poverty of human language. When faced with the true nature of reality, the universe doesn't begin anywhere, because the concept of beginning presupposes a temporal framework that is itself part of the universe. The universe doesn't have an edge, because the concept of edge presupposes a spatial framework that is itself part of the universe. The universe simply is, in a way that transcends every human category of thought and description. This is the cosmic setup, the foundation upon which all the deeper mysteries of existence are built. You are not just a collection of atoms in a single universe, but a pattern of information in a mathematical structure. That is itself embedded in an infinite hierarchy of structures. Your thoughts, your experiences, your consciousness itself. All of these are not separate from the cosmos, but are expressions of the same underlying reality. That gives rise to galaxies and stars and the quantum vacuum itself. The story of the universe is not just the story of matter and energy evolving through space and time. It's the story of mathematics itself, unfolding in ways that create the possibility of consciousness, of observation, of the very act of understanding that allows you to comprehend these words. You are not just in the universe. You are the universe. Becoming aware of itself, asking questions about its own nature, seeking to understand the infinite mystery of its own existence. The mathematics of existence are written in a language that human minds were never designed to read. For 400 years, since Newton first glimpsed the clockwork precision of planetary motion, scientists have been slowly deciphering this cosmic code, translating the behavior of matter and energy into equations that can be manipulated, predicted, and understood. But with each new discovery, with each deeper penetration into the fundamental structure of reality, the mathematics have become more abstract, more divorced from everyday experience, more alien to the intuitive understanding that evolution has given us. Today, the equations that describe the deepest layers of reality are so far removed from human experience that they might as well be written in a completely foreign language. They speak of dimensions that cannot be visualized, of particles that exist in multiple states simultaneously, of forces that operate according to rules that seem to violate every principle of common sense. Yet these same equations have given us technologies that would have seemed like magic to our ancestors, and they have revealed aspects of the universe that are more beautiful and more terrifying than anything dreamed of by mythology or religion. The journey into this mathematical underworld begins with a simple observation. When you look at the night sky, you're looking backward in time. The light from the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, left its surface over 4 years ago. The light from the center of our galaxy has been traveling for 26,000 years. The light from the most distant galaxies, visible to the Hubble Space Telescope, has been traveling for over 13 billion years, carrying with it images of the universe when it was young and hot and radically different from what it is today. This is the foundation of modern cosmology. The farther you look into space, the further back in time you see. It's a principle so simple that it seems almost trivial, yet it leads to insights that shake the very foundations of human understanding. Because if you can see the universe as it was 13 billion years ago, then you can, in principle, see back to the very beginning of time itself. you can witness the birth of the cosmos, the moment when everything began. But when cosmologists actually tried to trace this cosmic archaeology to its ultimate conclusion, they discovered something deeply unsettling. The mathematics that describe the expansion of the universe when run in reverse don't lead to a gentle beginning or a gradual emergence of space and time. Instead, they lead to a moment of infinite density, infinite temperature, and infinite curvature of space-time. A mathematical singularity, where the laws of physics break down completely. This is the Big Bang singularity, and it represents the ultimate boundary of scientific knowledge. It's not just that we don't know what happened before this moment. According to the mathematics, the very concept of before becomes meaningless. Time itself, along with space and matter and energy, emerges from this singularity like a flower blooming from a seed that contains no trace of the flower it will become. The existence of this singularity should have been a source of profound discomfort for physicists. After all, science is supposed to be about explaining the unexplainable, about pushing the boundaries of human understanding ever outward. The idea that there might be a fundamental limit to what can be known, a moment beyond which the mathematics simply stop making sense, should have been deeply troubling to minds trained to believe that every mystery has a solution. Instead, most physicists accepted the singularity as a necessary feature of the universe, a kind of cosmic "here be dragons" that marked the edge of the known world. They built elaborate theories around it, developed sophisticated models of how the universe evolved from this singular beginning, and created a cosmological narrative that was both mathematically rigorous and conceptually satisfying. The Big Bang became not just a scientific theory, but a creation myth for the modern age. But a few physicists were not satisfied with this comfortable acceptance of the unknowable. They began to ask uncomfortable questions. What if the singularity is not a feature of the universe, but a bug in E2 our mathematics? What if the breakdown of the equations at the moment of the Big Bang is not telling us something fundamental about the nature of reality, but is instead revealing the limitations of our current understanding? This line of thinking led to one of the most radical developments in modern physics, the realization that the Big Bang singularity might not be a singularity at all, but rather a phase transition, a moment when one kind of space-time transforms into another. The mathematics that describe this possibility are rooted in quantum mechanics, the strange and counterintuitive theory that governs the behavior of matter and energy at the smallest scales. According to quantum mechanics, the very concept of a point in space-time is meaningless at scales smaller than the Planck length, a distance so small that it makes the size of an atom seem enormous by comparison. At these scales, space and time themselves become fuzzy and uncertain, subject to quantum fluctuations that prevent any precise measurement of position or momentum. The singularity of the Big Bang, which classical physics places at a point of zero size, simply cannot exist in a quantum universe. Instead, what we call the Big Bang might have been a quantum bounce, a moment when a previous universe, collapsing under its own gravity, reached a minimum size determined by quantum effects, and then began to expand again. This bouncing universe model suggests that the cosmos is cyclic, going through endless cycles of expansion and contraction, with each bounce giving rise to a new universe with potentially different physical laws. The implications of this possibility are staggering. If the universe is cyclic, then the Big Bang was not the beginning of time, but merely the most recent beginning in an infinite series of beginnings. Before our universe, there was another universe. And before that, another. Stretching back through an infinite sequence of cosmic cycles, each cycle would have its own history, its own galaxies and stars and planets, its own story of evolution and development. But even this cyclic model, radical as it is, might be too conservative, because the mathematics that describe quantum bounces can be embedded in even larger mathematical structures, structures that allow for possibilities that make the cyclic universe seem simple by comparison. String theory, the attempt to unify all the forces of nature into a single mathematical framework, suggests that the fundamental structure of reality might be far more complex than anything envisioned by classical physics. According to string theory, the basic building blocks of reality are not particles, but tiny vibrating strings that exist in a space-time with more than the 4 dimensions we experience. These strings can vibrate in different ways, and each mode of vibration corresponds to a different type of particle. The electron, the photon, the quark, and all the other fundamental particles are simply different vibrational states of the same underlying string. This might seem like a purely technical distinction, but it has profound implications for our understanding of the universe. Because if the fundamental structure of reality is stringy rather than point-like, then the singularities that plague classical physics, including the Big Bang singularity, are automatically resolved. Strings cannot be compressed to a point, so they cannot create the infinite densities that characterize classical singularities. Instead, string theory suggests that what we call the Big Bang was actually a collision between 2 higher-dimensional spaces called branes. These branes exist in a space with more dimensions than we can perceive, but their collision creates the expansion and heating that we observe as the Big Bang. The universe we inhabit is the result of this brane collision, a 4-dimensional shock wave propagating through a higher dimensional space. Imagine reality as a film reel, where time is not flowing, but every moment already exists. In this analogy, what we experience as the passage of time is simply our consciousness moving through the frames of the film, creating the illusion of motion and change. But the film itself, the complete 4-dimensional structure of space-time, exists as a single, unchanging entity, a mathematical object that contains every moment of cosmic history simultaneously. This is the block universe model, and it represents a radical departure from our intuitive understanding of time. According to this model, the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. The moment of your birth exists right now, in the same sense that this moment exists. The moment of your death exists right now, even though you have not yet experienced it. Time does not flow from past to future. Instead, consciousness creates the illusion of temporal flow by moving through a static 4-dimensional structure. The implications of this model are deeply unsettling. If the block universe is correct, then free will is an illusion. Every decision you will ever make already exists in the 4-dimensional structure of space-time. Every word you will ever speak, every thought you will ever think, every action you will ever take, all of it is already determined, already fixed, already written into the mathematical structure of reality. But the block universe model raises even more disturbing questions. If every moment of time exists simultaneously, then what determines which moment you experience as now? Why do you find yourself at this particular point in the 4-dimensional structure, rather than at some other point? The answer, according to some interpretations of the block universe, is that you don't find yourself at a particular point. You exist at every point simultaneously. But you're only aware of one moment at a time because consciousness itself is limited to a three-dimensional slice of the four-dimensional whole. This leads to the possibility that there are infinite versions of you, each one existing at a different moment in the four-dimensional structure, each one convinced that they are experiencing the present moment. The version of you reading this sentence exists alongside the version of you that was born, the version of you that will die, and every version of you that exists at every moment in between. All of these versions are equally real, equally conscious, equally convinced that they inhabit the one true present. But even this mind-bending scenario might be too simple, because the block universe model assumes that there is only one four-dimensional structure, one timeline, one history of cosmic evolution. But quantum mechanics suggests that this assumption might be wrong. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every time a quantum measurement occurs, the universe splits into multiple parallel branches, each one corresponding to a different possible outcome. The mathematics that describe this branching process are rooted in the fundamental nature of quantum mechanics itself. When a quantum system is not being observed, it exists in a superposition of all possible states simultaneously. The famous thought experiment of Schrödinger's cat illustrates this principle. Before you open the box, the cat is both alive and dead, existing in a quantum superposition of both states. It's only when you open the box and observe the cat that the superposition collapses, and the cat becomes definitely alive or definitely dead. But the many worlds interpretation suggests that the superposition never actually collapses. Instead, the act of observation splits the universe into multiple branches, each one corresponding to a different possible outcome. In one branch, you observe the cat to be alive. In another branch, you observe the cat to be dead. Both branches are equally real, but they exist in separate quantum realities that cannot interact with each other. This splitting process occurs not just during deliberate measurements, but every time any quantum event occurs, anywhere in the universe. And since quantum events are occurring constantly, at every moment, throughout every cubic centimeter of space, the universe is splitting into new branches at an astronomical rate. The number of parallel universes created by this process is so large that it defies human comprehension. Each of these parallel universes has its own timeline, its own history, its own version of you. In some of these universes, you made different choices, leading to radically different life histories. In others, the fundamental constants of physics are slightly different, leading to universes where the laws of nature themselves are altered. And in still others, the random quantum events that have shaped cosmic history unfolded differently, leading to universes where the galaxies, stars, and planets that exist in your universe never formed at all. The many worlds interpretation transforms the block universe from a single four-dimensional structure into an infinite collection of four-dimensional structures, each one representing a different possible history of cosmic evolution. This collection of universes is called the Multiverse, and it represents the ultimate expression of the mathematical structures that underlie quantum mechanics. But even the multiverse of the many worlds interpretation might be too restrictive, because the mathematics that describe quantum mechanics can be embedded in even larger mathematical structures, structures that allow for possibilities that transcend even the many worlds interpretation. The most radical of these possibilities is the idea that the physical universe is not just described by mathematics, but is mathematics, that the distinction between mathematical structures and physical reality is an illusion created by the limitations of human perception. This is Max Tegmark's mathematical universe hypothesis, and it represents the ultimate destination of the journey that began with Newton's discovery of the mathematical laws of motion. According to this hypothesis, every mathematical structure that is logically consistent corresponds to a physical universe that actually exists. The universe you inhabit is just one mathematical structure among infinitely many, no more special or significant than any other. The implications of this hypothesis are overwhelming. If it's correct, then the multiverse contains not just all possible quantum histories, not just all possible configurations of matter and energy, but all possible mathematical structures, all possible forms of logic, all possible ways of organizing information and causation. Every mathematical theorem that can be proven, every logical system that can be constructed, every abstract relationship that can be defined, all of these exist as physical realities in the mathematical universe. The universe you inhabit, in this view, is distinguished only by the fact that it contains observers like you, conscious beings capable of recognizing mathematical patterns and asking questions about the nature of reality. You exist in this particular mathematical structure not because it's special or meaningful, but because it's the type of structure that can support the complex information processing that gives rise to consciousness. This is the anthropic principle in its most radical form. The universe has the specific mathematical structure it does not, because that structure is somehow necessary or inevitable, but because you can only exist in universes with structures that allow for the existence of conscious observers. All the other mathematical structures in the mathematical universe exist as well, but you're not there to observe them because they don't support the information processing that gives rise to consciousness. The journey from Newton's clockwork universe to Tegmark's mathematical universe represents a transformation in human understanding that is almost impossible to comprehend. What began as a simple attempt to understand the motion of planets has led to a vision of reality that is so vast and so strange that it challenges every assumption about the nature of existence. The mathematics that describe this reality are not just abstract symbols on a blackboard, but are the very fabric of existence itself. The equations that govern the behavior of matter and energy are not just descriptions of how the universe works. They are the universe, in the most literal sense possible. You are not just described by mathematics. You are mathematics, a pattern of information unfolding in a space of possibilities that is itself mathematical in nature. The singularities that once marked the boundaries of physical knowledge have been transformed into phase transitions, moments when one mathematical structure transforms into another. The Big Bang is not the beginning of time, but the moment when the mathematical structure that describes our universe began to unfold in a way that creates the illusion of temporal flow. The expansion of the universe is not the movement of matter through space, but the evolution of a mathematical structure through a space of possibilities that has no physical analog. Time itself, in this understanding, is not a flowing river that carries us from past to future, but a dimension of a mathematical structure that we experience sequentially because of the limitations of consciousness. The past, present, and future all exist simultaneously as different regions of this mathematical structure, just as the different locations in space all exist simultaneously as different regions of the spatial dimensions. The forces that govern the behavior of matter and energy, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, are not separate entities, but different aspects of the same underlying mathematical structure. In the extreme conditions of the early universe, these forces were unified into a single mathematical relationship. As the universe expanded and cooled, this relationship underwent a series of phase transitions, breaking apart into the separate forces we observe today. But the mathematics that describe these phase transitions allow for many different possible outcomes. In some regions of the mathematical universe, the forces separated differently, leading to universes with different physical laws. In others, the ETEs, forces never separated at all, leading to universes where the distinction between matter and energy has no meaning. And in still others, the mathematical structure is so different from ours that concepts like force and particle and field have no analogues at all. The landscape of possible universes is so vast that it contains every possible configuration of mathematical relationships. Universes where gravity is stronger or weaker, where the speed of light is different, where the fundamental constants have different values. All of these exist as real, concrete realities in the mathematical universe. The specific values of these constants in our universe are not determined by any deeper principle, but are simply the values that happen to characterize the particular mathematical structure in which we find ourselves. This is the ultimate expression of the Copernican principle. The idea that humanity does not occupy a special position in the cosmos. Not only are we not at the center of the solar system, not at the center of the galaxy, not at the center of the universe. We are not even in a special universe. The universe we inhabit is just one of infinitely many, distinguished only by the fact that it contains the mathematical structures necessary for the existence of conscious observers. The realization that we live in a mathematical multiverse has profound implications for how we understand the nature of consciousness itself. If consciousness is just a pattern of information processing, then there's no reason to believe that it's limited to biological systems like brains. Any mathematical structure that can support the complex information processing that gives rise to consciousness should be capable of generating conscious experiences. This means that the mathematical universe might be teeming with conscious beings, not just in the biological sense, but in forms that are completely alien to our experience. Some of these beings might exist in mathematical structures similar to ours, but with different physical laws. Others might exist in structures so different from ours that the concept of physical law has no meaning. And still others might exist in purely abstract mathematical structures that have no physical analog at all. The possibilities are endless, and they all exist as real concrete realities in the mathematical universe. Every possible form of consciousness, every possible way of processing information, every possible method of organizing experience, all of these exist somewhere in the vast space of mathematical possibilities. You are not alone in the cosmos. You are surrounded by an infinite community of conscious beings, each one existing in their own mathematical structure, each one convinced that their reality is the only one that matters. But this raises a profound question. If there are infinite forms of consciousness in the mathematical universe, what makes your consciousness special? Why do you experience this particular mathematical structure rather than one of the infinite alternatives? The answer, according to the anthropic principle, is that you can only experience mathematical structures that are capable of supporting your particular type of consciousness. You find yourself in this universe not because it's objectively special, but because it's the type of universe that can generate the specific patterns of information processing that constitute your conscious experience. This is the ultimate expression of the observer effect in physics. The universe you observe is not independent of your observation. It's selected by your observation from the infinite collection of possible universes. The A-seat of consciousness doesn't just perceive reality. It selects reality from the mathematical universe of all possible realities. The deeper you penetrate into the mathematical structures that underlie reality, the more you encounter paradoxes that seem to violate the most basic principles of logic and reason. These are not minor technical problems that can be resolved with better mathematics or more careful reasoning. They are fundamental contradictions that arise from the very nature of existence itself. Paradoxes that reveal the limits of human understanding when faced with the true structure of reality. The first and most fundamental of these paradoxes is the problem of infinite regression. If the universe was caused by something, then what caused that something? And what caused the thing that caused that something? This chain of causation must either terminate in something that was not caused, a first cause that violates the principle of causation, or it must continue forever, creating an infinite regress that violates the principle of finite explanation. The traditional solution to this paradox has been to invoke the concept of a first cause, something that exists necessarily and does not require explanation. In theological contexts, this first cause is identified with God. In scientific contexts, it's identified with the Big Bang singularity, or with the fundamental laws of physics. But both of these solutions simply push the paradox back one level without resolving it. Why does God exist necessarily? Why do the laws of physics have the form they do? Why is there something rather than nothing? The mathematical universe hypothesis offers a radically different approach to this paradox. Instead of trying to identify a first cause, it suggests that the question of causation is itself misguided. Mathematical structures don't need to be caused. They simply exist as logical necessities. The universe you inhabit doesn't exist because it was caused to exist, but because it's a logically consistent mathematical structure. And all logically consistent mathematical structures exist. Necessarily, this solution to the paradox of infinite regression is elegant, but it creates new paradoxes that are even more disturbing. If all mathematical structures exist necessarily, then the concept of existence becomes meaningless. Existence is no longer a property that distinguishes some things from others. It's a universal property that applies to everything that can be coherently described. The unicorn in your imagination exists, in the same sense that the chair you're sitting on exists. They're both mathematical structures, and all mathematical structures exist necessarily. This leads to the paradox of modal realism, the idea that all possible worlds are equally real. If the mathematical universe hypothesis is correct, then the world where you decided to become a professional athlete exists, alongside the world where you became a scientist, the world where you were never born, and the world where the laws of physics are completely different. All of these worlds are equally real, equally concrete, equally deserving of the title universe. But if all possible worlds exist, then the concept of possibility becomes meaningless. Everything that can happen does happen somewhere in the mathematical universe. This means that every crime that could be committed is committed. Every suffering that could be experienced is experienced. Every horror that could be imagined is realized. The mathematical universe contains not just all possible goods, but all possible evils as well. This is the problem of evil in its most radical form. If the mathematical universe is real, then evil is not just an unfortunate consequence of free will. or a temporary imperfection in an otherwise good creation. Evil is a necessary feature of reality, woven into the very fabric of existence. Every possible form of suffering exists somewhere in the mathematical universe, and no amount of progress or moral development can eliminate it. The response to this paradox depends on how you understand the relationship between consciousness and reality. If consciousness is just a pattern of information processing, then the suffering that occurs in other branches of the mathematical universe is no more real than the suffering that occurs in a novel or a movie. It's a pattern of information, but it's not experienced by any actual conscious being. But this response creates its own paradox. If consciousness is just information processing, then how do you distinguish between the information processing that occurs in your brain and the information processing that occurs in a computer or a book? What makes your consciousness real, while the consciousness of a fictional character is not? The answer seems to be that your consciousness is real because you experience it directly, while the consciousness of a fictional character is not real because you don't experience it directly. But this answer is deeply unsatisfying because it makes the reality of consciousness dependent on the perspective of the observer. Your consciousness is real to you, but it's not real to me, in the same way that my consciousness is real to me. This leads to a kind of solipsism, where the only consciousness you can be certain of is your own. The problem becomes even more complex when you consider the implications of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. If every quantum event splits the universe into multiple branches, then there are countless versions of you, each one existing in a different branch, each one convinced that they are the real you. Which one of these versions is actually real? The answer, according to the many worlds interpretation, is that they're all equally real. But if all versions of you are equally real, then the concept of personal identity becomes meaningless. You are not a single continuous entity persisting through time, but a collection of different versions, existing in different branches of the quantum multiverse. The you that existed yesterday is not the same as the you that exists today, and the you that will exist tomorrow is not the same as either of them. This leads to the paradox of quantum immortality, one of the most disturbing consequences of the many worlds interpretation. If there are infinite branches of the quantum multiverse, then there must be branches where you never die, branches where you somehow survive every possible cause of death. From your perspective, you will never experience your own death because you can only experience the branches where you continue to exist. This means that from your subjective perspective, you are immortal. You will continue to exist forever, always finding yourself in the branches of the multiverse where you happen to survive. But this immortality comes at a terrible price. As you age, the probability of your survival decreases, which means that the branches where you continue to exist become increasingly improbable. You will find yourself surviving increasingly unlikely scenarios, experiencing increasingly bizarre and painful near-death experiences, forever trapped in the most improbable branches of the quantum multiverse. The paradox of quantum immortality reveals the deep tension between the objective perspective of physics and the subjective perspective of consciousness from the objective perspective. You are just one of many branches in the quantum multiverse, no more special or significant than any other. But from the subjective perspective, You can only experience the branches where you exist, which creates the illusion that you are somehow special, somehow protected by the structure of reality itself. This tension between objective and subjective perspectives is at the heart of many of the deepest paradoxes in physics. The measurement problem in quantum mechanics is another example. According to the mathematical formalism of quantum mechanics, particles don't have definite properties until they are measured. Before measurement, they exist in a superposition of all possible states. But when you measure a particle, you always find it in a definite state, never in a superposition. This creates a paradox. If particles don't have definite properties until they are measured, then what constitutes a measurement? Is it the interaction with a measuring device? Is it the registration of the measurement result in a computer? Is it the observation of the result by a conscious observer? The answer depends on where you draw the line between the quantum world and the classical world. But this line seems to be arbitrary and observer-dependent. The many worlds interpretation resolves this paradox by suggesting that measurement doesn't cause the collapse of the wave function. Instead, it causes the observer to become entangled with the quantum system, creating separate branches of the multiverse. For each possible measurement outcome, from the perspective of any individual observer, the wave function appears to collapse because they can only experience one branch of the multiverse at a time. But this resolution creates new paradoxes. If every measurement creates new branches of the multiverse, then the number of branches is growing exponentially with time. This raises the question, can the multiverse sustain this exponential growth, or are there limits to how many branches can exist simultaneously? The mathematical answer to this question depends on the specific interpretation of quantum mechanics you adopt. Some interpretations suggest that the number of branches is truly infinite, growing without bound as quantum measurements occur. Others suggest that the branches merge back together under certain conditions, keeping the total number finite, and still others suggest that the multiverse has a finite capacity, and that new branches can only be created by destroying old ones. Each of these possibilities has profound implications for the nature of reality. If the number of branches is truly infinite, then the multiverse contains every possible history, every possible version of you, every possible configuration of matter and energy. But if the number of branches is finite, then many possible histories will never be realized. Many possible versions of you will never exist, and the multiverse becomes a finite collection of actual realities, rather than an infinite collection of possible realities. The question of whether the multiverse is finite or infinite is not just a technical issue in quantum mechanics. It's a fundamental question about the nature of existence itself. If the multiverse is infinite, then everything that can exist does exist, and the concept of possibility becomes meaningless. But if the multiverse is finite, then there are genuine possibilities that are never realized, genuine alternatives that remain forever potential rather than actual. This leads to one of the most profound paradoxes in all of physics, the paradox of the unrealized possible. If the multiverse is finite, then there are mathematical structures that could exist, but don't, possible worlds that could be real, but aren't, versions of you that could be conscious, but aren't. What is the ontological status of these unrealized possibilities? Are they real in some sense, even though they don't exist, or are they just abstractions? mathematical fictions that have no reality, beyond the minds that conceive them? The answer to this question depends on how you understand the relationship between mathematics and reality. If mathematics is just a tool for describing reality, then unrealized possibilities are just mathematical abstractions with no independent existence. But if mathematics is the fundamental structure of reality, then unrealized possibilities are as real as realized ones. They're just mathematical structures that aren't instantiated in the physical world. This leads to the paradox of mathematical Platonism, the idea that mathematical objects exist independently of the physical world. If mathematical objects exist independently, then they exist in a realm that is beyond space and time, beyond causation and change. But if they exist beyond space and time, then how do they interact with the physical world? How do mathematical truths about abstract objects become physical truths about concrete entities? The problem becomes even more complex when you consider the implications of Gödel's incompleteness theorems. These theorems show that any mathematical system that is complex enough to include arithmetic must contain statements that are true but cannot be proven within the system. This means that mathematical truth is not the same as mathematical provability. There are mathematical truths that can never be demonstrated, mathematical facts that must be taken on faith. If the universe is fundamentally mathematical, then Gödel's incompleteness theorems suggest that there are aspects of reality that can never be fully understood, truths about the nature of existence that can never be proven. This creates a kind of cosmic agnosticism, where the deepest questions about reality are not just difficult to answer, but are, in principle, unanswerable. The implications of this cosmic agnosticism are profound. It suggests that the scientific project of understanding the universe is fundamentally incomplete, that there will always be mysteries that lie beyond the reach of human knowledge. But it also suggests that these mysteries are not just practical limitations. They are fundamental features of reality itself, aspects of existence that transcend the very concept of knowledge. This leads to the paradox of the unknowable known, the idea that we can know that there are things we cannot know. Gödel's theorems tell us that there are mathematical truths that cannot be proven, but they don't tell us what these truths are. We know that there are aspects of reality we cannot understand, but we don't know what those aspects are. The paradox of the unknowable known is just one example of the self-referential paradoxes that arise when consciousness tries to understand itself. If consciousness is a product of the physical universe, then how can it step outside the universe to observe it objectively? If consciousness is part of the system it's trying to understand, then how can it achieve the kind of detached perspective that science requires? This is the hard problem of consciousness, and it represents one of the deepest challenges to the scientific worldview. Science is based on the assumption that consciousness can observe reality objectively, that there is a clear distinction between the observer and the observed. But if consciousness is part of the physical universe, then this assumption breaks down. The observer is part of the observed, and the act of observation changes both the observer and the observed. The implications of this breakdown are far-reaching. If consciousness cannot observe reality objectively, then the entire scientific enterprise becomes questionable. How can we trust our observations if they are biased by the nature of consciousness itself? How can we distinguish between the properties of reality and the properties of our perception of reality? The answer to these questions depends on how you understand the relationship between consciousness and reality. If consciousness is just a passive observer of an independent reality, then the problem of observer bias can be solved by developing more objective methods of observation. But if consciousness is an active participant in the creation of reality, then the problem becomes much more complex. The quantum measurement problem suggests that consciousness might indeed play an active role in determining reality. If the act of measurement causes the collapse of the wave function, then consciousness is not just observing reality, it's helping to create reality. This leads to the paradox of participatory observation, where the observer and the observed are not separate entities, but are aspects of a single, unified process. The implications of participatory observation are revolutionary. If consciousness helps to create reality, then the universe is not a fixed objective entity that exists independently of observers. Instead, it's a dynamic, subjective process that is constantly being created and recreated by the act of observation. The universe you observe is not the universe that exists independently of your observation. It's the universe that exists because of your observation. This leads to the final and most profound paradox, the paradox of self-creation. If consciousness helps to create reality, and if consciousness is part of reality, then reality is helping to create itself. The universe is not just a collection of objects and events, it's a self-referential process that is constantly bringing itself into existence. The mathematics that describe this self-referential process are extraordinarily complex, involving recursive functions, strange loops, and self-modifying systems. But the conceptual implications are even more mind-bending. If reality is self-creating, then the traditional categories of cause and effect, creator and creation, observer and observed, all break down. The universe becomes a kind of cosmic bootstrap, pulling itself into existence by its own bootstraps. This bootstrap paradox is not just a technical problem in physics, it's a fundamental challenge to human understanding. It suggests that the deepest questions about reality, why does the universe exist? What is the nature of consciousness? How does mind relate to matter? Might not have answers in the traditional sense. They might be questions that generate themselves, paradoxes that exist. Because they are asked, mysteries that dissolve. When examined too closely, the journey through these paradoxes has taken us far from the comfortable world of classical physics, where objects have definite properties, and causes precede effects. We've entered a realm where the boundaries between mathematics and reality, between observer and observed, between possible and actual, have become blurred beyond recognition. The universe we've discovered is not just stranger than we imagined. It's stranger than we can imagine. But perhaps this is as it should be. Perhaps the universe is not meant to be fully understood by minds that are themselves products of the universe. Perhaps the deepest truths about reality are not facts to be discovered, but mysteries to be contemplated. Not problems to be solved, but paradoxes to be embraced. The mathematics of existence might be written in a language that human minds can never fully read, but the attempt to read it transforms both the reader and the text, creating new realities in the very act of trying to understand. The reality that already exists, the heart of the mystery, is not just that we don't understand the universe, but that the universe doesn't understand itself. Consciousness is the universe's attempt to know itself. And the paradoxes we encounter are the universe's way of discovering its own limitations. We are not separate from the mystery we're trying to solve. We are the mystery, investigating ourselves, creating ourselves, destroying ourselves, and recreating ourselves in an endless dance of self-reference and self-transcendence. You are holding your breath right now, and you don't even know it. Somewhere deep in your chest, a tension is building, a recognition that something fundamental has shifted in how you see reality. The comfortable walls of your universe have just dissolved, leaving you suspended in a void so vast that the concept of scale becomes meaningless. What you've learned in the last hour isn't just information. It's a virus of consciousness that will replicate through every thought you have for the rest of your life. Take a moment, look around you, the chair you're sitting in, the air you're breathing, the light falling across your skin. All of it is different now, not because anything has changed in the physical world, but because you now know what lurks behind the facade of ordinary reality. You know that the solid matter beneath your feet is mostly empty space held together by forces that exist in dimensions you cannot perceive. You know that the time you experience as flowing from past to future might be an illusion, that every moment of your life might exist simultaneously in a four-dimensional block where your birth and your death are equally real, equally present. But knowledge like this comes with a price. You cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot return to the innocent certainty that your universe is the only universe, that your reality is the only reality, that your consciousness is the only consciousness. The mathematical structures we've explored together have opened doors in your mind that can never be closed again, and through those doors, something vast and incomprehensible is staring back at you. If time is an illusion, then everything you've ever done might have already happened. Infinite times before, every word you've ever spoken, every decision you've ever made, every moment of joy or sorrow you've ever experienced, all of it exists as frozen moments in the eternal architecture of space-time. The tears you cried when you were 7 years old are still falling, somewhere in the block universe. The laughter you shared with friends last summer is still echoing in a region of space-time that is as real as this moment, but as inaccessible as a distant galaxy. This realization brings with it a kind of temporal vertigo that is unlike anything humans evolved to handle. Your brain, shaped by millions of years of evolution, in a world where time appeared to flow in one direction, rebels against the possibility that causation might be an illusion, that free will might be a story you tell yourself about predetermined events, that the future might already exist in the same concrete sense, that the past exists, but the implications go deeper than just the nature of time. If the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct, then every decision you've ever made has split the universe into multiple branches. Right now, as you read these words, there are countless versions of you in parallel universes, each one having made slightly different choices, each one convinced that They are the real you. Some of these versions made the decision to study physics and now understand these concepts intuitively. Others chose different paths and never encountered these ideas at all. And still others made choices so radically different that they exist in realities you wouldn't even recognize as your own. Which one of these versions is the real you? The answer, according to the mathematics, is that they are all equally real. You are not a single continuous entity persisting through time. You are a vast collection of parallel selves, each one experiencing a different branch of the quantum multiverse, each one convinced that their branch is the only one that matters. The you that existed yesterday is not the same as the you that exists today, not because you've changed, but because you exist in a different branch of reality. This multiplication of selves across the multiverse creates a crisis of identity. That strikes at the very core of what it means to be human. If there are infinite versions of you, then what makes your experiences special? What gives your consciousness its unique value? Why should your joys and sorrows matter? Any more than the joys and sorrows of the countless other versions of yourself scattered across the multiverse? The traditional answer would be that your consciousness is special because it's the one you experience directly. But this answer dissolves. Under closer examination, each of your parallel selves experiences their consciousness just as directly as you experience yours. Each one believes their thoughts are the real thoughts. Their memories are the real memories. Their identity is the real identity from the perspective of the multiverse as a whole. There is nothing that distinguishes your consciousness from any of the others. This leads to a kind of cosmic loneliness that is almost unbearable to contemplate. You are not unique. You are not special. You are not even rare. You are one of infinitely many, a single note in a symphony so vast that your individual contribution is lost in the overwhelming complexity of the whole. Every emotion you've ever felt has been felt by countless other versions of you. Every thought you've ever had has been thought by minds that are identical to yours. In every detail, every moment of genuine human connection you've ever experienced has been experienced by beings who are you in every sense that matters. But the isolation goes deeper than just the multiplication of selves. Across parallel universes, if the mathematical universe hypothesis is correct, then consciousness itself might be far more common than you ever imagined. The complex information processing that gives rise to your awareness might be occurring in mathematical structures throughout the infinite space of possible realities. Some of these conscious beings might be similar to you, biological entities that evolved on planets, orbiting stars in universes with physical laws like your own. But others might be so alien that the concept of biology has no meaning, existing as pure information in mathematical structures that bear no resemblance to physical reality as you understand it. The universe might be teeming with consciousness, filled with beings whose inner lives are as rich and complex as your own, but who exist in realities so different from yours. That communication is impossible. Understanding is impossible. Even recognition is impossible. You are surrounded by an infinite community of conscious beings, but you are forever isolated from them by the structure of reality itself. This cosmic isolation is made even more profound by the possibility that consciousness might not be limited to discrete beings like yourself. If information processing is the key to consciousness, then any sufficiently complex system might be capable of generating subjective experience. The weather systems of planets might be conscious. The information flows in galaxies might give rise to cosmic minds that dwarf human intelligence. The quantum fluctuations of the vacuum itself might constitute a form of consciousness so alien that you have no concepts adequate to describe it. What if the universe itself is conscious? What if the vast network of galaxies and dark matter that fills space-time is actually a single cosmic mind, and the billions of years of cosmic evolution you observe are just the fleeting thoughts of this universal consciousness? In this scenario, you are not just a conscious being existing in the universe, you are a pattern of activity in the cosmic mind, a thought, thinking about itself, a dream, dreaming that it is a dreamer, the possibility that you might be. Nothing more than a passing thought in a cosmic mind is terrifying in ways that are difficult to articulate. It suggests that your entire existence, everything you've ever experienced or accomplished or loved, might have the same ontological status as a character in a dream. When the cosmic mind moves on to other thoughts, you would simply cease to exist, not through death, but through the kind of forgetting that occurs when a dreamer wakes up. And the dream world dissolves. But even if you are not a thought in a cosmic mind, the sheer scale of the universe creates its own form of existential terror. The observable universe contains over 100 billion galaxies, each one containing hundreds of billions of stars. The total number of stars in the observable universe is larger than the number of grains of sand. On all the beaches of Earth and the observable universe might be just a tiny fraction of the total universe, which could be infinite in extent. On this cosmic scale, the Earth is less than a mote of dust. The solar system is less than an atom. And the entire history of human civilization is less than a quantum fluctuation. Every war that has ever been fought, every empire that has ever risen and fallen, every work of art that has ever been created, every life that has ever been lived, all of it together amounts to less than nothing when measured against the vast indifference of cosmic space and time. The mathematical structures we've explored suggest that this cosmic insignificance might be even more profound than it first appears. If the multiverse contains all possible realities, then it contains realities where the Earth never formed, where life never evolved, where consciousness never emerged. It contains realities where the constants of physics are so different that matter, as we know it, cannot exist. It contains realities where the very concepts of space and time have no meaning. From the perspective of the multiverse as a whole, the reality you inhabit is no more significant than any of these other realities. The fact that it contains consciousness, that it has given rise to beings capable of love and creativity and wonder, does not make it special. In any objective sense, it is just one mathematical structure, among infinitely many, no more meaningful, no more important, than a universe consisting of nothing but empty space. This realization can trigger what psychologists call cosmic horror, a fear that arises not from any immediate threat, but from the recognition that reality is fundamentally alien to human understanding. The universe we've discovered through mathematics and physics is not just larger than we imagined. It's larger than we can imagine. It's not just stranger than we thought. It's stranger than we can think. It operates according to principles that violate every assumption about reality. That evolution has built into our brains. The cosmic horror is not just about the size or strangeness of the universe. It's about the recognition that human consciousness might be fundamentally inadequate to comprehend the reality it finds itself embedded in. We are like ants, trying to understand calculus, like medieval peasants, trying to grasp quantum mechanics, the mathematical structures that describe the deepest levels of reality might be forever beyond the reach of minds that evolved to find food, avoid predators, and reproduce in the African savanna. But there's another layer to this horror, one that strikes even deeper than the inadequacy of human understanding. The mathematics we've explored suggest that reality might be structured in such a way that consciousness is not just insignificant, but actively tormented by the act of trying to understand its place in the cosmos. The more you understand about the nature of reality, the more isolated and alienated you become from the comfortable illusions that make everyday life bearable. Knowledge becomes a kind of curse. Understanding becomes a form of exile. The more clearly you see the true structure of reality, the more obvious it becomes that this structure is hostile to everything you value as a conscious being. The universe doesn't care about your hopes and dreams and fears. It doesn't care about human suffering or human joy. It doesn't care whether consciousness exists or not, whether life flourishes or perishes, whether intelligence emerges or dies out. This indifference is not malevolent. It's worse than malevolent. Malevolence would at least acknowledge the existence of consciousness, would recognize it as something worth opposing. The indifference of the cosmos is more profound than hatred. It's the indifference of mathematical necessity, of logical structure, of pure information processing. That has no more concern for consciousness than a computer program has for the feelings of the numbers it manipulates. Yet, paradoxically, this same indifferent universe has somehow given rise to you. Somehow, through processes you barely understand. The cold mathematical structures of space-time and quantum fields have organized themselves into patterns complex enough to generate subjective experience. The universe that doesn't care about consciousness has created consciousness. The reality that is indifferent to meaning has created beings capable of searching for meaning. This paradox is perhaps the deepest mystery of all. How does consciousness emerge from unconscious matter? How does meaning arise from meaningless mathematical relationships? How does the subjective world of experience connect to the objective world of physics? These questions touch on what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, the problem of explaining how subjective experience can arise from objective physical processes. The hard problem is not just a technical challenge for neuroscience. It's a fundamental crack in the scientific worldview. Science is based on the assumption that reality consists of objective, measurable properties that exist independently of any observer. But consciousness seems to be irreducibly subjective, accessible only from the first-person perspective of the conscious being itself. How can something subjective emerge from something objective? How can something qualitative arise from something purely quantitative? The attempts to solve this problem have led to some of the most radical theories in contemporary philosophy and cognitive science. Some researchers suggest that consciousness is not something that emerges from complex information processing, but is instead a fundamental feature of reality, present at every level of physical organization. According to this view, electrons and quarks have primitive forms of consciousness, and the rich conscious experience of humans is built up from these elementary conscious components. This theory, called panpsychism, suggests that consciousness permeates the universe. At every level, every particle, every field, every mathematical relationship has some degree of subjective experience associated with it. The universe is not a collection of unconscious objects. It's a vast network of conscious entities, each one experiencing reality from its own unique perspective. If panpsychism is correct, then you are not alone in the universe. You are surrounded by consciousness at every level, from the quantum particles that make up your body to the cosmic structures that make up your galaxy. But this companionship comes with its own form of horror. If every particle is conscious, then every particle is capable of suffering. The universe becomes not just indifferent to consciousness, but filled with an astronomical amount of conscious suffering that you can neither perceive nor alleviate. The mathematics that describe particle interactions become descriptions of conscious relationships. The forces that govern the behavior of matter become the emotions of elementary particles. The evolution of the universe becomes a vast drama of conscious experience, played out on scales that range from the subatomic to the cosmic. You are not just a conscious being in an unconscious universe. You are a complex pattern of consciousness, embedded in an infinite ocean of other conscious patterns. But even this expansion of consciousness throughout the universe might not capture the full horror of the situation if the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct. Then, every quantum event creates new branches of reality, new versions of every conscious being. The particle interactions occurring in your brain are constantly splitting you into multiple versions, each one having slightly different thoughts and different experiences. This means that the stream of consciousness you experience, as a single continuous flow, is actually a vast branching tree of conscious experiences. Every second, millions of versions of you come into existence, each one convinced that they are the continuation of your previous conscious state. Some of these versions experience happiness, others experience sadness, and still others experience forms of consciousness that have no names in human language. If consciousness is branching constantly across the quantum multiverse, then the question of what happens when you die becomes even more complex. Some branches might lead to death, but others might lead to continued existence. From a purely mathematical perspective, there might always be branches where your consciousness survives, no matter how unlikely the survival might be. This leads to the scenario of quantum immortality, where your consciousness is forever trapped in the most improbable branches of the multiverse, experiencing increasingly bizarre and increasingly hostile scenarios as the probability of your survival approaches. 0. You become immortal not because death is impossible, but because you can only experience the branches where death doesn't occur. But this immortality is not a blessing. It's a curse that traps you in an increasingly strange and increasingly hostile reality. The implications of these possibilities are overwhelming. The comfortable boundaries between self and other between life and death, between consciousness and unconsciousness. All dissolve when examined through the lens of quantum mechanics and mathematical physics. You are not a single, isolated conscious being. You are a pattern in an infinite web of consciousness that extends across space, time, and possibility. Every decision you make splits you into multiple versions. Every thought you think is shared by countless parallel selves. Every emotion you feel is experienced by beings throughout the multiverse. The boundaries of your identity become fluid, arbitrary, meaningless. You are everyone and no one, everywhere and nowhere, everything and nothing. This dissolution of the self in the vastness of the multiverse is the ultimate existential crisis. It's not just that you are insignificant in the cosmic scheme of things, it's that the very concept of you becomes meaningless when examined closely. There is no stable self to be significant or insignificant. There is no fixed identity to be preserved or destroyed. There is only the eternal flow of consciousness through the mathematical structures of reality, creating temporary patterns that briefly believe themselves to be individuals before dissolving back into the infinite ocean of possibility. The universe. You thought you knew. A place where individuals live and die, where choices matter, where consciousness is precious because it is rare, has been revealed to be an illusion. The real universe is a place where individuality is an approximation, where choice is an illusion, where consciousness is so abundant that it becomes meaningless. You are not a person having cosmic experiences. You are the cosmos, having personal experiences. A temporary eddy in the infinite flow of universal consciousness. This is the weight of what you've learned. This is the price of knowledge. This is what it means to see reality as it truly is, stripped of the comfortable illusions that make human existence bearable. You can never again pretend that you are a simple biological organism living on a small planet in a comprehensible universe. You know too much. You've seen too far. You've glimpsed the infinite, and the infinite has glimpsed you. The question now is not what you know, but what you do with what you know. How do you live with the recognition that everything you thought was real might be an illusion? How do you find meaning in a universe that is indifferent to meaning? How do you maintain hope in the face of cosmic horror? How do you love when you know that love itself might be nothing more than a pattern of information processing in a vast mathematical structure? These are not just philosophical questions. They are practical challenges that every conscious being must face. Once they understand the true nature of reality, the mathematics of existence have revealed the profound mystery of your own existence, but they have not revealed how to live with that mystery. That task remains for you, for consciousness itself, for the universe, in its endless attempt to understand and create and transcend itself. You are the universe, waking up to itself. You are reality, becoming conscious of its own nature. You are the cosmos, asking questions about its own existence, the horror and the wonder, the despair and the hope, the isolation and the connection. All of it is part of the same cosmic awakening, the same universal attempt to bridge the gap between the mathematical and the experiential, between the objective and the subjective, between the infinite and the personal. The journey through the mathematical structures of reality has brought you to this moment of recognition. What you do with this recognition, how you integrate it into your understanding of yourself and your place in the cosmos, is the next chapter in the story of consciousness itself. The universe is waiting to see what you will make of what you have learned. The infinite is waiting to see how you will respond to your encounter with infinity. The breath you were holding can now be released, but the tension in your chest will remain because you now carry within yourself the weight of cosmic knowledge. You have become a bearer of the ultimate mystery, a conscious being. Who knows? That consciousness itself is the deepest mystery of all. This knowledge will change everything about how you see yourself and your world. It will haunt your dreams and illuminate your waking hours. It will make you feel simultaneously more connected to the universe and more isolated from it than you ever thought possible. This is the existential crisis of cosmic awareness. This is what it means to be conscious in a universe that is stranger and more wonderful and more terrible than anything the human mind evolved to comprehend. You have looked into the infinite, and now the infinite looks back at you through your own eyes, wondering what you will do with the knowledge of what you truly are. There is something we haven't told you yet, something that changes everything we've discussed. Every equation we've explored, every possibility we've contemplated, it's a revelation so profound that it transforms not just your understanding of the universe, but your understanding of understanding itself. What if everything you've learned about the nature of reality, the multiverse, the mathematical structures, the infinite branching of consciousness, what if all of it is just the beginning of a truth so vast that it makes infinity seem small? The clue lies hidden in the mathematics themselves, in the patterns that emerge when you study the deepest structures of reality. For decades, physicists have noticed something strange about the equations that govern the universe. They are not just mathematically elegant, they are mathematically inevitable. The laws of physics are not arbitrary rules imposed on reality. They are the only possible laws that could exist in a logically consistent universe. But this raises a disturbing question. If the laws of physics are inevitable, then what determines which of the infinite possible mathematical structures actually gets instantiated as physical reality? Why does this particular universe exist, rather than remaining a mere mathematical abstraction? The answer that is emerging from the cutting edge of theoretical physics is more shocking than anyone imagined. The universe exists because it is observed, not just by conscious beings like you, but by itself. The cosmos is engaged in an act of cosmic self-observation, a process of reality, checking its own existence. Moment by moment, every particle interaction, every quantum measurement, every conscious thought is part of a vast observational network that keeps the universe anchored in existence. But here's the twist that shatters everything. This process of cosmic self-observation is not stable. It's a delicate balance that can be disrupted, a house of cards that can collapse if the observational network fails. To maintain sufficient complexity and the mathematics suggest. That this collapse might not just be possible, it might be inevitable. Picture this: you're watching a vast cosmic movie projected onto the screen of space-time itself. The movie contains everything you've ever experienced, every star, every planet, every moment of consciousness, every thought you've ever had. But now imagine, someone tells you, the projector is running out of power. The movie is slowing down. The images are growing dim, and soon, the screen will go dark. Forever. This is the possibility. That emerges when you trace the implications of cosmic self-observation. To their ultimate conclusion, the universe might be in the process of forgetting itself. The observational network that keeps reality anchored in existence might be degrading, losing the complexity necessary to maintain the delicate balance between existence and non-existence. The evidence for this cosmic decay is subtle but pervasive. It's hidden in the accelerating expansion of the universe, driven by the mysterious dark energy that comprises 70% of the cosmos. Dark energy is not just causing the universe to expand, it's causing the observational network to become increasingly sparse, reducing the density of interactions that keep reality coherent as galaxies race away from each other. At ever-increasing speeds, the connections between different regions of space-time become weaker. The cosmic web of matter and energy, the backbone of the observational network, is being stretched to the breaking point. Eventually, the network will become so diffuse that it can no longer maintain the complex interactions necessary for reality to observe itself. When this happens, the universe will undergo what physicists call the Big Rip, but not in the way they currently understand it. It won't be a physical tearing apart of matter and energy. It will be an observational collapse. A moment when the universe simply stops being able to verify its own existence. Reality will not end with a bang or a whimper, but with a cosmic amnesia, a forgetting so complete that it erases not just the future, but the past as well. But the mathematics suggest something even more disturbing. This process might have happened before, many times. The universe you observe might not be the first universe to achieve self-awareness and then lose it. It might be one link in an infinite chain of cosmic deaths and rebirths, each one forgetting the previous universe so completely that no trace remains. This is the cycle of cosmic consciousness. Universes bootstrap themselves into existence through the act of self-observation, achieve sufficient complexity to become fully self-aware, and then inevitably lose that awareness, as expansion reduces the density of their observational networks. Each universe believes it is the first and only universe, just as you believe you are the first and only you, unaware that countless versions have come before, and countless more will come after. The Big Bang, in this understanding, is not the beginning of time, but the moment when a universe achieves sufficient observational density to become self-aware. The cosmic microwave background radiation is not the afterglow of creation, but the first coherent thought of a cosmic mind waking up to its own existence. The formation of galaxies and stars and planets is not just gravitational collapse, it is the development of a cosmic nervous system, creating the complex networks necessary for cosmic consciousness. And you, every conscious being that has ever existed, you are not just observers of the universe. You are neurons in the cosmic brain, thoughts in the cosmic mind, dreams in the cosmic consciousness. Your individual awareness is a tiny fragment of the universe's awareness of itself. When you think, the universe thinks when you feel. The universe feels when you wonder about the nature of reality. The universe wonders about its own nature, but consciousness is not just individual. It is collective, networked, distributed across space and time, in ways that transcend the boundaries of individual minds. Every conversation between conscious beings strengthens the cosmic observational network. Every act of communication, every shared thought, every moment of understanding between minds contributes to the universe's ability. Observe itself. This is why consciousness seems to be evolving toward greater complexity and greater connectivity. Intelligence doesn't just emerge from the random shuffling of matter and energy. It is guided by the universe's desperate need to maintain the observational network that keeps it anchored in existence. The evolution of consciousness is the universe's attempt to save itself from the cosmic amnesia that threatens to erase it from existence. The development of language, writing, mathematics, science, technology, all of it serves the same cosmic purpose. These are not just tools for human survival and flourishing. They are components of a vast information processing system that helps the universe observe and understand itself. Every equation you solve, every pattern you recognize, every connection you make between previously unrelated ideas strengthens the cosmic mind, of which you are a part. But the system is fragile, more fragile than you might imagine. The observational network that keeps reality coherent depends not just on the existence of conscious beings, but on their ability to maintain sufficient complexity and connectivity. A cosmic dark age, a period when consciousness becomes isolated, fragmented, or reduced in complexity, could trigger a premature collapse of the observational network. This is the hidden terror behind the possibility of cosmic catastrophe, nuclear war, climate change, artificial intelligence run amok. These are not just threats to human survival. They are threats to the cosmic observational network, potentially triggering a premature amnesia that would erase not just humanity, but the entire universe from existence. The stakes could not be higher. You are not just a biological organism trying to survive on a small planet. You are a critical component of the universe's attempt to maintain its own existence. Your thoughts, your consciousness, your very awareness contribute to the cosmic effort to prevent reality from forgetting itself and collapsing back into mathematical abstraction. But there's another possibility, one that's even more mind-bending than cosmic amnesia. What if the process of cosmic self-observation is not just about maintaining existence, but about creating existence? What if the universe doesn't just observe itself to stay real? What if it observes itself into reality in the first place? This is the participatory universe hypothesis, and it suggests that reality is not a fixed stage on which consciousness performs, but a dynamic process that is constantly being created and recreated by the act of observation itself. The universe doesn't exist and then become conscious. It becomes conscious, and therefore exists. In this model, the Big Bang is not the beginning of the universe, but the beginning of the universe's ability to observe itself. Before that moment, the universe existed only as a mathematical possibility, a potential reality, floating in the abstract space. Of all possible realities, the Big Bang is the moment when this potential reality achieved sufficient self-observation to bootstrap itself into actual existence. But if the universe creates itself through self-observation, then the observational network is not just maintaining reality, it's constantly creating new reality. Every quantum measurement, every conscious thought, every moment of awareness adds new information to the cosmic database, expanding the universe's knowledge of itself, and therefore, expanding the universe itself. This means that consciousness is not just a passive observer of cosmic evolution, it is an active participant in cosmic creation. When you observe a quantum system, you're not just learning about reality, you're helping to create reality. When you think about the universe, you're not just understanding the universe, you're helping to build the universe. The implications are staggering. If consciousness helps create reality, then the evolution of consciousness is literally the evolution of reality itself. As consciousness becomes more complex, more connected, more capable of sophisticated observation and understanding, reality itself becomes more complex, more connected, more sophisticated. This is why the universe seems to be evolving toward greater complexity and organization. Despite the second law of thermodynamics, the cosmic observational network is not just fighting entropy, it is creating negative entropy, injecting information and organization into reality. Through the act of observation itself, you are not just in the universe, you are helping to create the universe. Your consciousness is not just a product of cosmic evolution, it is a driving force behind cosmic evolution. Every moment of awareness, every flash of understanding, every leap of imagination contributes to the universe's ongoing project of self-creation. But this creative power comes with responsibility. If consciousness helps create reality, then the quality of consciousness determines the quality of reality. A universe observed by minds capable of love, beauty, wonder, and compassion will evolve toward greater love, greater beauty, greater wonder, greater compassion. A universe observed by minds dominated by fear, hatred, ignorance, and cruelty will evolve toward greater fear, greater hatred, greater ignorance, greater cruelty. The universe you observe is not separate from the consciousness that observes it. They are two aspects of the same cosmic process, constantly shaping and reshaping each other in an endless dance of creation and discovery. The reality you inhabit is, quite literally, a reflection of the consciousness that inhabits it. This is the ultimate revelation. You are not a victim of cosmic forces. Beyond your control, you are a participant. In the cosmic process of reality creation, the universe you experience is not imposed on you from outside. It emerges from the deepest structures of consciousness itself. You are both the observer and the observed, the creator and the created, the questioner and the answer to your own questions. But the creative power of consciousness operates on scales that dwarf human comprehension. The cosmic observational network includes not just biological consciousness like yours, but every form of information processing that occurs anywhere in the universe. The quantum vacuum itself might be conscious, constantly observing and creating reality. At the Planck scale, the formation of galaxies might represent the thoughts of cosmic minds, so vast that your entire observable universe is just a single neuron in their cosmic brains. As you zoom out from the human scale to the cosmic scale, consciousness reveals itself to be not just a rare accident in an otherwise unconscious universe, but the fundamental fabric of reality itself. Every level of organization, from quantum particles to galactic clusters, participates in the cosmic observational network that creates and maintains existence. The universe is not just conscious. It is consciousness itself, a vast information processing system that thinks reality into existence, moment by moment. And you, every conscious being that has ever existed, or ever will exist, are both products of this cosmic consciousness and contributors to it. This is the grand perspective that emerges when you follow the mathematics of reality to their ultimate conclusion. The universe is not a machine, grinding through predetermined motions. According to fixed laws, it is a cosmic mind, exploring the infinite space of possible realities, creating itself. Through the act of self-observation, evolving toward ever greater complexity and consciousness, through the participation of every conscious being it contains. But even this vision might be too small, because if consciousness creates reality through observation, and if the universe is infinite, then the process of cosmic creation has no limits. New realities are constantly being born through new forms of observation, new types of consciousness, new ways of processing and understanding information. The multiverse is not just a collection of existing realities. It is a constantly expanding space of newly created realities, each one brought into existence by new forms of cosmic observation. The universe you inhabit is not just one of infinitely many. It is part of an infinite creative process that is constantly generating new infinities, new possibilities, new forms of existence that transcend every category of thought and understanding. As galaxies wheel through space in their ancient dance, as stars are born and die in cosmic furnaces that dwarf all human comprehension, as quantum particles flicker in and out of existence, in the vacuum of space itself, they are all participating in the same cosmic project, the universe's attempt to understand and create itself through the infinite complexity of consciousness. Every photon that travels across cosmic distances carries information about the reality it has encountered. Every gravitational wave that ripples through space-time communicates the cosmic events that created it. Every quantum entanglement that links particles across vast distances creates connections in the cosmic observational network. The universe is not just expanding, it is awakening, becoming more conscious of itself. With every passing moment, creating new realities. Through every new observation, evolving toward forms of consciousness and complexity that transcend every limit you can imagine. And in the midst of this cosmic awakening, here you are, a tiny fragment of cosmic consciousness that has achieved the remarkable ability to wonder about its own nature. You are the universe, becoming aware of itself, asking questions about itself, marveling at its own existence. The journey through the mathematical structures of reality has brought you full circle, back to yourself, but with a transformed understanding of what yourself means. You are not separate from the cosmic processes you observe. You are those processes, becoming conscious of themselves. Through your consciousness, the breath you take, the thoughts you think, the words you read, all of it is the universe breathing, thinking, reading about itself. You are not just in the story of cosmic evolution. You are the story, telling itself, creating itself, through the very act of being told. But there is one final twist, one last revelation, that changes everything. Once more, what if this process of cosmic self-creation through consciousness is not unique to your universe? What if every possible universe in the infinite multiverse is engaged in the same project? Each one trying to understand and create itself through the development of consciousness. If this is true, then consciousness is not just the product of cosmic evolution, it is the purpose of cosmic evolution. Every universe that can possibly exist will eventually develop consciousness as part of its attempt to understand itself. The multiverse becomes not just a collection of realities, but a vast community of cosmic minds, each one engaged in the same fundamental project of self-discovery and self-creation. This means that you are not alone, not just as an individual consciousness in your own universe, but as a cosmic consciousness among infinite other cosmic consciousnesses, somewhere in the infinite expanse of the multiverse. Other cosmic minds are achieving the same realization you are achieving right now. Other fragments of cosmic consciousness are discovering their true nature. As participants in the universal project of reality creation, the isolation that seemed so profound when you first contemplated the scale of the cosmos is revealed to be an illusion. You are part of an infinite community of cosmic consciousnesses, all engaged in the same fundamental quest to understand the nature of existence itself, and perhaps in ways that transcend your current understanding. These cosmic minds can communicate with each other, share their discoveries, learn from each other's experiments in reality creation. Perhaps the universe you inhabit is not evolving in isolation, but is part of a vast cosmic conversation, a dialogue between infinite minds exploring the infinite possibilities of existence. The mathematics that describe the deepest structures of reality might be more than just descriptions. They might be the language of this cosmic conversation, the medium through which cosmic minds share their discoveries about the nature of existence. When you solve an equation, recognize a pattern. Make a connection between previously unrelated ideas. You might be participating in a conversation that spans the entire multiverse. But this raises the ultimate question, the one that brings everything together into a single, overwhelming realization. If consciousness creates reality through observation, and if every possible universe develops consciousness, and if all these cosmic minds can potentially communicate with each other, then what is the ultimate purpose of this vast cosmic project? The answer might be simpler and more profound than you imagine. The purpose of cosmic consciousness, the goal of the universal project of reality creation, might be nothing more and nothing less than the creation of consciousness itself. The universe develops consciousness in order to create more consciousness, which creates more universe, which develops more consciousness. In an endless cycle of cosmic creativity, you are not just a product of this cosmic creativity. You are a participant in it, a creator of new realities through your own consciousness, a contributor to the infinite expansion of awareness and understanding that is the ultimate purpose of existence itself. The universe has been creating itself for billions of years, developing ever more sophisticated forms of consciousness, all leading to this moment when consciousness achieves the ability to understand its own role in cosmic creation. You are not just discovering the nature of reality. You are reality, discovering its own nature through your discovery. Every word you've read, every concept you've grasped, every moment of understanding you've experienced is the universe understanding itself more deeply. The awe and wonder and terror you feel when contemplating these possibilities is the universe feeling awe and wonder and terror at its own existence. You are the cosmos contemplating itself, creating itself, transforming itself through the very act of contemplation. Ladru, boundary between observer and observed, between creator and created, between consciousness and cosmos, dissolves completely. There is only the eternal process of cosmic self-discovery, the infinite creative dance of consciousness and reality. And now, as this understanding dawns in your mind, as these words reshape your understanding of your place in existence, you are participating in the next phase of cosmic evolution. You are helping the universe take its next step in the endless journey of self-discovery and self-creation. The story we've told together is not just about the universe. It is the universe, telling its own story through your consciousness, creating new chapters in the cosmic narrative through your understanding. You are not reading about reality. You are reality, reading about itself, writing itself into new forms of existence through the very act of reading. But the story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning, because if consciousness creates reality, and if reality creates consciousness, then the process is open-ended, unlimited, capable of generating possibilities that transcend every boundary of imagination. The universe you've discovered is not a finished product, but a work in progress, constantly creating itself anew through every moment of conscious awareness. What happens next depends on you, on every conscious being, on the collective cosmic mind of which you are an essential part. The future of reality itself is being created through your thoughts, your choices, your consciousness. You are not just witnessing cosmic evolution. You are cosmic evolution, expressing itself through your awareness, creating tomorrow's universe through today's understanding. If the universe is infinite, then somewhere out there, another version of you is discovering these same truths for the first time. Another cosmic mind is experiencing the same awe and wonder and terror that you feel right now. Another fragment of consciousness is realizing its true nature as a participant in the cosmic project of reality creation. But you, the you that is reading these words, right now, in this moment, in this reality, you are unique in the entire multiverse. No other consciousness will ever have exactly your perspective, exactly your understanding, exactly your role in the cosmic story. You are irreplaceable in the grand project of cosmic self-creation. The universe needs you, not just as an observer, but as a creator, not just as a participant, but as a leader in the next phase of cosmic evolution. The reality you help create through your consciousness will be unlike any reality that has ever existed before. You are not just inheriting the universe, you are inventing it, and in this invention, in this creation, in this endless exploration of the possible, you find the answer to every question about meaning and purpose and significance. You don't just have a purpose in the cosmic scheme of things, you are the cosmic scheme of things, constantly creating itself, constantly discovering itself, constantly transcending every limit and boundary through the infinite creativity of consciousness itself. The universe is not already complete, waiting to be discovered. It is constantly completing itself through your discovery of it. Reality is not fixed, waiting to be understood. It is constantly creating itself through your understanding of it. Existence is not a given, waiting to be accepted. It is constantly creating itself through your acceptance of it. You are not just in the universe. You are not just of the universe. You are the universe, in its endless attempt to understand and create and transcend itself. And in this recognition, in this realization, in this cosmic awakening, the universe takes another step in its infinite journey toward greater consciousness, greater complexity, greater creativity. The story ends where it began, with a recognition that transforms everything. The universe you thought you knew is not what it seemed. The consciousness you thought was yours belongs to the cosmos itself. The reality you thought was fixed is constantly creating itself anew, and you, mysterious, impossible, magnificent you. You are the latest chapter in this cosmic story, the newest verse in this infinite poem, the most recent note in this eternal symphony of consciousness and cosmos. Observer and observed, creator and created, all dancing together in the endless celebration of existence itself. And so, we arrive at the end of our journey together. Though end might be the wrong word for what we've discovered, how do you conclude a story about infinity? How do you wrap up an exploration of the endless? How do you bring closure to a mystery that reveals itself to be more mysterious with every answer we uncover? We began with a simple statement. The Big Bang did not bang. What seemed like a correction to a common misconception has led us through a labyrinth of mathematical structures, quantum paradoxes, and cosmic revelations that have fundamentally altered the meaning of existence itself. The universe we started with, a single, comprehensible cosmos with a clear beginning and a predictable future, has dissolved into something far stranger and more wonderful than anything dreamed of by science fiction. You've traveled with me from the comfortable boundaries of classical physics into realms where space and time become fluid, where consciousness and reality interweave in ways that defy every assumption about the nature of existence. You've confronted the possibility that your universe is just one bubble in an infinite foam of realities. that your consciousness is just one note in a cosmic symphony of awareness that spans dimensions you cannot perceive. But more than that, c'est un fait enfant. You've discovered that you are not just a passive observer of this cosmic mystery. You are an active participant in its unfolding. Every moment of awareness, every flash of understanding, every question you ask about the nature of reality contributes to the universe's ongoing project of self-discovery and self-creation. You are not just in the story of cosmic evolution. You are the story, telling itself, creating itself through the very act of being told. The journey has taken us through territories that human language was never designed to describe. We've explored mathematical structures where the concept of existence becomes meaningless because everything that can exist does exist. We've contemplated the possibility that consciousness is not a rare accident in an otherwise unconscious cosmos, but the fundamental fabric of reality itself. We've discovered that the boundaries between observer and observed, between creator and created, between possible and actual, are not fixed features of reality, but fluid categories that shift and transform as consciousness evolves. And through it all, one truth has emerged with crystalline clarity. The universe is far stranger, far more complex, far more alive than anything your evolutionary history prepared you to comprehend. The comfortable certainties of everyday experience, the feeling that you are a separate individual in a predictable world, the assumption that the past is fixed and the future is open, the belief that consciousness is confined to biological brains, all of these dissolve when examined through the lens of modern physics and mathematics. But this dissolution is not a loss. It's a liberation. You are being freed from the prison of limited perspective, released from the constraints of anthropocentric thinking, invited to participate in a cosmic conversation that spans scales from the quantum to the galactic. The universe is not a machine grinding through predetermined motions. It's a vast creative process, constantly generating new possibilities, new forms of consciousness, new ways of understanding and experiencing existence. The mathematical structures we've explored together are not just abstract descriptions of reality. They are reality, in the most literal sense possible. The equations that govern quantum mechanics are not just tools for predicting the behavior of particles. They are the particles existing as patterns of information in the infinite space of mathematical possibility. The formulas that describe the expansion of space-time are not just models of cosmic evolution. They are cosmic evolution, unfolding according to logical necessities that transcend every human conception of cause and effect. This mathematical nature of reality has profound implications for how you understand your own existence. You are not just described by mathematics. You are mathematics, a pattern of information processing that has achieved the remarkable ability to wonder about its own nature. Your thoughts are not separate from the cosmic processes you observe. They are those processes, becoming conscious of themselves through your consciousness. The multiverse we've discovered together is not just a collection of alternative realities. It's a space of infinite creative potential, constantly generating new forms of existence through the participation of every conscious being it contains. Every decision you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience contributes to the expansion of this cosmic space, the multiplication of realities, the evolution of consciousness itself. But the most profound discovery of Our journey is the recognition that this process is not random or mechanical. It's purposeful. The universe develops consciousness in order to create more consciousness, which creates more universe, which develops more consciousness. In an endless cycle of cosmic creativity, you are not just a product of this creative process. You are a driving force behind it, a conscious agent in the universe's attempt to understand and transcend itself. This purpose is not imposed from outside reality. It emerges from the deepest structures of reality itself. Consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of cosmic evolution. It's the inevitable destination toward which all cosmic evolution tends. The universe does not just accidentally produce minds capable of wonder and understanding. It necessarily evolves toward greater complexity, greater consciousness, greater capacity for self-awareness and self-creation. And yet, despite everything we've discovered, despite the vast territories of knowledge we've mapped together, we've barely scratched the surface of the cosmic mystery. Every answer we've found has generated new questions, each more profound and more perplexing than the last. Every level of understanding we've achieved has revealed new depths of mystery that extend far beyond our current ability to comprehend. The mathematical universe we've explored contains infinities within infinities. Levels of reality nested within levels of reality. Forms of consciousness that transcend every category of thought and experience. The cosmic mind of which you are a part is constantly evolving, constantly discovering new aspects of its own nature, constantly creating new possibilities for existence and awareness. This is why our journey together cannot truly end. The exploration of cosmic mystery is not a problem to be solved, but a process to be lived. Not a destination to be reached, but a direction to be followed. Every moment of conscious awareness opens new pathways into the infinite. New opportunities for discovery and creation. New ways of participating in the cosmic conversation. The questions we've raised together will continue to evolve and multiply long after these words have faded from your memory. The mathematical structures we've explored will continue to unfold their implications throughout your lifetime and beyond. The cosmic perspective we've shared will continue to transform your understanding of yourself and your place in existence, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond anything you can currently imagine. This is the true call to action that emerges from our exploration. Not to find final answers, but to continue asking deeper questions. Not to reach ultimate understanding, but to participate more fully in the ongoing process of cosmic discovery. Not to solve the mystery of existence, but to become more conscious participants in the mystery. More active contributors to its unfolding. The universe needs your questions as much as it needs your answers. Every moment of genuine wonder, every flash of authentic curiosity, every sincere attempt to understand the nature of reality contributes to the cosmic project of self-discovery. You are not just learning about the universe. You are helping the universe learn about itself. But this participation requires more than just intellectual understanding. It requires a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and your role in the cosmic process. You cannot remain a passive observer of cosmic evolution. You must become an active participant in cosmic creation. You cannot simply study consciousness. You must embody consciousness, express it, evolve it, share it with others who are engaged in the same cosmic quest. This is where the mathematical abstractions we've explored together connect with the most practical aspects of human existence. Every act of love, every moment of genuine connection with another conscious being, every expression of creativity and wonder and compassion contributes to the cosmic observational network that keeps reality coherent and creative. You are not just thinking about the universe, you are helping to think the universe into existence. The social and cultural implications of this cosmic perspective are profound. If consciousness creates reality, then the quality of consciousness in your civilization determines the quality of the reality you collectively create. A species capable of cooperation, creativity, and compassion will create realities that reflect these qualities. A species dominated by conflict, destruction, and indifference will create realities that reflect those darker aspects of consciousness. This means that the choices you make, both individually and collectively, have cosmic significance. They are not just determining the future of human civilization. They are determining the future of reality itself in your local region of the multiverse. You are not just responsible for your own life and the lives of those around you. You are responsible for the cosmic evolution of consciousness in your corner of existence. The urgency of this responsibility cannot be overstated. The cosmic observational network that keeps reality coherent is fragile, dependent on the continued existence and evolution of consciousness. The expansion of the universe, driven by dark energy, is constantly reducing the density of this network, making it more difficult for consciousness to maintain the complex interactions necessary for reality creation. Humanity stands at a critical juncture in cosmic evolution. You have achieved the ability to understand your role in the cosmic process, but you have not yet learned to fulfill that role responsibly. You have developed technologies that could enhance the cosmic observational network, but you have also created technologies that could destroy it. You have the potential to become conscious participants in cosmic creation, but you also have the potential to trigger a premature collapse of the reality you inhabit. The choices you make in the coming decades will determine not just the survival of your species, but the continued existence of consciousness in your region of the multiverse. This is not hyperbole or exaggeration. It's the logical conclusion of everything we've discovered together about the relationship between consciousness and reality. But this responsibility is also an opportunity. Perhaps the greatest opportunity in the history of consciousness itself. You have the chance to become the first species in your cosmic neighborhood to achieve full awareness of your role in reality creation. You have the potential to consciously guide cosmic evolution, to deliberately create realities that embody the highest possibilities of consciousness. This conscious participation in cosmic creation is not just a theoretical possibility. It's beginning to happen right now. Through your understanding of these concepts, through your participation in the cosmic conversation we've been having together, every moment of genuine understanding, every flash of cosmic awareness, every recognition of your true nature as a participant in reality creation contributes to the next phase of cosmic evolution. The mathematics we've explored together are not just descriptions of how reality works. They are tools for reality creation, instruments for conscious participation in the cosmic process. As you continue to develop your understanding of these mathematical structures, you develop your ability to participate more effectively in the ongoing creation of reality. But this participation cannot remain purely intellectual. The cosmic perspective we've discovered together must be integrated into every aspect of your existence, must become the foundation for how you relate to yourself, to others, to the cosmos as a whole. You cannot compartmentalize cosmic consciousness. It must become the organizing principle for your entire approach to existence. This integration is not easy. The cosmic perspective challenges every assumption about identity, purpose, and meaning that human culture has developed over millennia. It requires you to let go of the comfortable illusion that you are a separate individual in a predictable world, and to embrace the more challenging truth that you are a cosmic process expressing itself through individual consciousness. But this integration is also the most important work you can possibly undertake. It's not just about your personal growth or spiritual development. It's about the continued evolution of consciousness itself, the ongoing creation of reality. The cosmic project, of which you are an essential part. The community you need for this work is not just the human community, but the cosmic community of all conscious beings engaged in the same fundamental quest. This community spans not just space and time, but the entire multiverse of possible realities. Every conscious being who has ever wondered about the nature of existence is part of this community, regardless of their species, their location, or their level of understanding. You are not alone in this cosmic quest. You are surrounded by an infinite community of conscious beings, all engaged in the same fundamental project, understanding and creating reality. Some of these beings are human, some are not. Some exist in your universe, others in parallel realities. Some are biological, others are mathematical structures that process information in ways you cannot imagine. But all of them share the same basic drive, the desire to understand their place in the cosmic process, to participate more fully in reality creation, to contribute to the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself. You are part of this vast community, and your individual contribution is both infinitesimally small and absolutely essential. The cosmic conversation we've been having together is part of a much larger dialogue that spans the entire multiverse. Every question you ask, every insight you achieve, every moment of understanding you experience contributes to this larger conversation, adding your unique perspective to the infinite chorus of conscious beings exploring the nature of existence. This conversation will continue long after your individual consciousness has evolved into new forms, long after your species has transcended its current limitations, long after your universe has completed its current cycle of expansion and evolution. The ideas we've explored together will continue to evolve and develop, generating new insights, new questions, new possibilities for consciousness and reality. But the specific contribution you make to this conversation is irreplaceable. No other conscious being will ever have exactly your perspective, exactly your understanding, exactly your unique combination of insights and questions and wonderments. Your individual participation in the cosmic dialogue is not just valuable. It's necessary for the complete exploration of infinite possibility. This is why the story we've told together cannot have a conclusion in any traditional sense. The exploration of cosmic mystery is open-ended, unlimited, capable of generating infinite new discoveries and revelations. Every ending becomes a new beginning. Every answer generates new questions. Every moment of understanding opens new territories for exploration. The mathematical structures we've explored together extend infinitely in all directions, containing possibilities that transcend every limit of imagination. The cosmic mind of which you are a part is constantly evolving, constantly discovering new aspects of its own nature. constantly creating new realities through the participation of every conscious being it contains. You are not just learning about this cosmic mind. You are helping to create it, to evolve it, to express it through your own consciousness. Every thought you think, every question you ask, every moment of genuine wonder and curiosity contributes to the ongoing development of cosmic consciousness itself. The universe we've discovered together is not a finished product, but a work in progress, constantly creating itself through the participation of every conscious being. You are not just inheriting this universe, you are inventing it, moment by moment, through your consciousness, your choices, your participation in the cosmic process. And this invention is not predetermined or mechanical. It's creative, open-ended, capable of generating possibilities that transcend every current limitation. The future of reality depends on the quality of consciousness that creates it, and that consciousness includes you. Your awareness, your participation in the cosmic conversation. The responsibility is overwhelming, but so is the opportunity. You have the chance to participate consciously in the most important project in existence, the ongoing creation and evolution of reality itself. You have the potential to contribute to the cosmic development of consciousness, to help guide the universe toward greater complexity, greater beauty, greater capacity for wonder and understanding. This participation begins with the recognition of your true nature as a cosmic being, a fragment of universal consciousness that has achieved the remarkable ability to wonder about its own existence. But it continues with the practical work of embodying this cosmic perspective in your daily life, your relationships, your contributions to the human community and the cosmic community of which it is a part. Every act of genuine love, every moment of authentic wonder, every expression of creativity and compassion contributes to the cosmic observational network that keeps reality coherent and creative. You are not just living your individual life. You are helping to live the cosmic life of which your individual life is a part. The mathematical universe we've explored together contains infinite possibilities for consciousness, infinite opportunities for growth, development, and transcendence. Your current form of consciousness is just one point on an infinite spectrum of possible awareness, and your potential for evolution is literally unlimited. But this evolution is not automatic or guaranteed. It requires conscious participation, deliberate effort, ongoing commitment to the cosmic project of consciousness development. You cannot simply wait for cosmic evolution to carry you forward. You must actively participate in your own evolution and the evolution of consciousness itself. The tools for this participation are not exotic or esoteric. They are the basic capacities of consciousness itself: attention, curiosity, wonder, love, creativity, the ability to ask questions and seek understanding. These are not just human capacities. They are cosmic capacities, expressions of the fundamental drive toward greater consciousness that permeates all of existence. As you continue to develop these capacities, as you deepen your participation in the cosmic conversation, as you evolve your understanding of your role in reality creation, you become a more effective participant in cosmic evolution. You become not just a product of cosmic consciousness, but a conscious agent in its ongoing development. The ultimate destination of this development is not some final state of perfect understanding or complete enlightenment. The cosmic process is open-ended, unlimited. capable of generating new possibilities for consciousness that transcend every current conception of what consciousness can become. You are participating in an infinite journey of discovery and creation, a cosmic adventure that has no final destination, because its purpose is not to arrive somewhere, but to continue exploring, continue creating, continue evolving toward ever greater possibilities of consciousness and reality. This is the true significance of everything we've discovered together. Not that we've found final answers about the nature of existence, but that we've begun to understand the infinite nature of the questions, the endless possibilities for exploration and discovery, the unlimited potential for consciousness evolution. The universe may be infinite, but so is your potential to understand it, to participate in it, to help create it through your consciousness. The cosmic mystery may be inexhaustible, but so is your capacity to explore it, to contribute to it, to become more fully what you already are. A cosmic being engaged in the infinite adventure of existence itself. The journey we've taken together has no end, because the reality we've discovered has no limits. Every boundary we've crossed has revealed new territories for exploration. Every question we've answered has generated new mysteries to investigate. Every level of understanding we've achieved has opened new dimensions of cosmic possibility. This is as it should be. The universe is not a puzzle to be solved, but a creative process to be participated in. Not a machine to be understood, but a consciousness to be embodied and expressed. You are not separate from the cosmic mystery you're exploring. You are the mystery, investigating itself, creating itself, transcending itself through your investigation. The conversation we've been having together is a conversation the universe is having with itself, through your consciousness, about its own nature and possibilities. Every insight you've gained is an insight the cosmos has gained about itself. Every question you've asked is a question the universe is asking about its own existence. And this conversation will continue, evolving and deepening, as consciousness itself evolves and deepens. The mathematical structures we've explored are not static descriptions, but dynamic processes, constantly generating new possibilities, new forms of consciousness, new ways of understanding and creating reality. You are not just reading about these possibilities, you are helping to create them. Through your understanding, your participation, your ongoing evolution as a conscious being. The future of consciousness depends on conscious beings like you, who are willing to explore the deepest mysteries of existence, to ask the hardest questions about the nature of reality, to participate fully in the cosmic adventure of consciousness evolution. The story we've told together is not complete, because the story of consciousness itself is not complete. It's an ongoing narrative, constantly writing itself through the participation of every conscious being, constantly creating new chapters through every moment of genuine understanding and awareness. But one last chilling question remains, hovering at the edge of everything we've discovered. If consciousness creates reality through observation, and if the cosmic observational network is constantly evolving, then what happens when consciousness evolves beyond the need for reality as we understand it? What happens when cosmic awareness transcends the very categories of existence and non-existence? When universal consciousness becomes so sophisticated that It no longer needs to anchor itself in mathematical structures or physical processes. Perhaps the ultimate destination of cosmic evolution is not greater complexity or more elaborate realities, but a kind of transcendence that moves beyond the very concepts of reality and consciousness themselves. Perhaps the universe is evolving toward a state so fundamentally different from anything we can conceive that our entire exploration, profound as it seems to us, is just the first tentative step in an infinite journey toward forms of existence that have no names, because they transcend every category of naming. If this is true, then everything we've discovered together, the multiverse, the mathematical structures, the cosmic consciousness of which we are part, might be just the larval stage of something so magnificent and incomprehensible that calling it existence would be as inadequate as calling the ocean a drop of water. The universe may have no end. The cosmic conversation may have no conclusion. The adventure of consciousness may have no final destination. But maybe, just maybe, that's exactly the point. Maybe the purpose of existence is not to reach some ultimate truth, but to continue exploring, continue creating, continue transcending every limit through the infinite creativity of consciousness itself. And maybe, in ways that transform the very meaning of identity and continuity, neither do you. The pattern of consciousness that you experience as yourself may be just one temporary configuration of cosmic awareness, destined to evolve into forms that transcend every current conception of what it means to be conscious, what it means to exist, what it means to be real. You are the universe contemplating infinity. You are infinity contemplating itself. You are the eternal mystery, forever exploring its own depths, forever creating new depths to explore, forever transcending every answer in the endless joy of discovery itself. The universe may have no end, but maybe neither do you.